How are you? Okay.
I am.
This was good.
This was good. Yeah. This was just like a normal conversation.
I told you.
Yeah.
I can say I told you.
And I wanted to prepare, baby.
Right.
You see.
Listen, you had the notebook like, you're gonna be asking me what, and I'm.
That is who Shawn is.
Listen,
Okay?
but it's so funny because I be like, I know my friend. Mm-hmm. So when you was like yesterday when we were hanging out, you was like, okay, so what we gonna be talking about? And so I told Jonathan, Jonathan, I had to give her a couple little,
just to
little
settle me down,
just to settle her down.
Yeah, I don't like to be caught off guard. I'm gonna tell you, one of my leaders told me, don't ever make me have a red face. And when I tell you that resonated with me and stuck up here,
yes.
And now that I'm a leader,
right, I'm gonna use that. I love that.
Don't ever make me have a red face.
Yeah.
And part of that is just really just communicating with me, dropping that nugget so that I'm aware, if I encounter certain things.
Right. For
so
sure.
I've taken that.
Yeah.
I probably should have said that, right?
Welcome to Shift Chats, conversations with Shawn Hansbrough. Welcome to Shift Chats. I have a very, very special guest with me today, a longtime friend, Shawn Hansbrough, Shonni, superwoman. We gonna get into it. So I want to start off with you introducing yourself, telling us a little bit, whatever you want to share, your name, degree, what you do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Shawn Hansbrough, and I am a friend. I am a sister. I am a daughter, most loved daughter.
Wait till your sister hear that.
Right. I am a Leo.
It is Leo season.
It is Leo season. I work in the supply chain field for a utility company in Wisconsin. I've been there 28 years, long, fruitful years. I am a loving and lover of love.
Yes.
That's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Yes. You mentioned we energies.
Yes.
And we were talking a little earlier. That's where we started.
That's where we started. That's where it all began.
That was 19. Ooh. We old, y'all.
We old. But we look good.
This is 50.
And this is 55.
Period. Y'all see that? Black don't. What they say, black don't?
Crack.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we started out at We Energies.
Yeah.
So, I'll think about, when I think about time, because Caitlin is the oldest. She's 29. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, we have to be like 25, 26 years in, because I had Caitlin.
A little bitty thing.
Caitlin was like 2 or 3 or something like that.
Yes.
On that journey. And I remember when I was leaving, you was like, girl, is you sure?
Absolutely.
So Shawn is the friend that is always going to question, right? She's going to be like, are you sure? Like, let's sit down. Let's talk about it. Like, we need to lay everything out on the table and make sure that you're sure. Absolutely. But I was sharing with Jonathan that you have watched my journey.
I have. I've seen it.
You saw it in real life.
Up close and personal. Mm-hmm. Yes.
We're not going to cry in the first 2 seconds.
It was a journey.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, why they call it a journey. And as your friend, I was riding till the wheels fell off. Period. Period.
I think this is probably the fastest I've cried. Okay, let me get myself together, y'all. But yeah. So when I think about friendship, I think about exactly what you said. Right into the wheels fall off, with no judgment.
No matter what.
No matter what. If we don't talk for a month or we don't talk for 2 days or whatever it is. I know that if I call you, you're going to respond.
Absolutely.
And I think the same for me. I remember one time I called, this was some many moons ago, and I was like, I want to be a better friend, so I'm going to, do you remember that?
I do.
And I was like, because that was like when texting became a thing, and everybody was texting, and I was like, I don't want to text my friends, like, I want to talk to my friends. So I was like, if you text me, I'm going to call you. And like, there's no cutoff time and all that. I don't know how long ago that was, but you remember that?
It's been some time. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And you were like, well, do you think you're not being a good friend?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something I think, internally you always have to have those conversations with yourself. Because I could think that I'm being the best friend that I could be.
Right.
And I'm totally missing the mark. So I have some things that I try to do, and I try to be intentional about with my friends and making connections. But, life be life.
Life be life. And
sometimes you just don't meet that mark. And so I try to be intentional about that.
Right. And I think, what do you think about like being able to have the conversation, right? So you have a friend and maybe things aren't like what you expect. I have that as a marker, like expectations. I always say our expectations set us up for failure. So if you have an expectation of someone, like over time, how do you feel like you've adjusted to now kind of like meeting people where they are?
That can be difficult for me, because my expectation always is, well, I'm giving you this, I should be able to get this back, right? And it just doesn't work that way,
right?
And I saw a quote that said something, quit expecting you from other people. That's my biggest takeaway in life,
right?
Is just because I'm intentional about doing X thing, the expectation, can't be always the same.
Right. Yeah. And I think that is a hard, I guess you could say, like, pill to swallow, right? Not accepting you for you and meeting people where they are. Like, this is, I know this person, this is what I'm going to get, right? And be okay with that or leave that. Because I've had, recently some situations where I just was like, I have to leave these situations because they're just not, conducive to what I feel like I need. And I was giving what I felt like I could give. So that's always like a challenge to be able to.
So when I hear you say that, I think there's a difference between friend and acquaintance.
Yes. Yep. I'm glad you brought that up.
And so everybody is not your friend. Okay? Because the meaning of friend is riding until the wheels fall off. Those good days, those bad days, the ups, the downs, the sideways.
Right.
The days where I just don't feel like it. And I need you to be okay with that.
Right.
Yeah. The days where I may have to say some hard words to you, that it's out of love, friend,
Right.
But I need you to know this, versus an acquaintance is just that, you know what I mean? Somebody that you know, somebody that you might be fond of, but they're just an acquaintance.
Yeah.
I
heard a lady talk about, she named 4, and I'm not going to remember all of what they were, but it was friend, it was acquaintance, it was peer. And I feel like maybe she said like associate or something.
Yes.
So she tiered them up into this, like, like your peer is like maybe somebody you work with and somebody, that's not necessarily going to come to your house or, and then so she kind of broke that down. And I just was like, that really is powerful to be able to understand that early on.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because we say that word so fluidly and easily.
Absolutely.
That's my friend.
And everybody does not belong in that friend category. I'll tell you, I have a friend who I worked with her and we became very close. We went out, hung out, had a great time. And then I left that particular job and I said to her, I'll know how close we are and if we are true friends, if this transcends beyond me working here. That literally has been 25 years ago. And when I tell you she is right there beside me, she is my friend.
Okay.
And we talk about that all the time. Like,
Right.
you know, I kind of put that on the table
Yeah.
for her. And it just worked out. And we are two peas in a pod.
Right. Not a work friend.
Yeah.
A real
Not a
life
work friend. She is a friend.
I love it. I love it. Well, let me get into some of the questions that I have. So one of my first questions I've been asking when people come on is, I asked you to send me a picture.
No judgment.
And I said, don't overthink it.
As I always do.
And you was like, I don't know. So you sent the cutest picture of you, and you were a baby. Like, I probably not a year old, like
Right.
maybe some months.
10 months, I think.
Okay. So tell me, so this is the question. What would you say to 10-month-old Shawn?
What would I say to 10-month-old Shawn? Rise to every occasion. I get this from a friend of mine that I met on Facebook.
Okay.
And there it is. I use that word friend.
Right.
An acquaintance that I know on Facebook. And she says, do it afraid. Which truly resonates with me because I'm often afraid.
Oh, wow.
But it never shows up like that, right? Because of this superwoman thing that I used to have in my heart all the
Yes.
time. And I know, and you know that, right?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Which, no, I am not your superwoman, okay? As the song goes.
Right. So tell me how it started. Do you remember how did you become Superwoman? Because you had the S, you wore the Superwoman S on the chest shirts. You had the
my
thing on your car.
Absolutely. On my computer at work.
Yes.
So I think a lot of that was I was doing some of the bigger things by myself. And it never was my intention to do.
Okay. So when you say bigger things, give me an example.
Buying a house.
Okay.
Buying cars, traveling, all of the things that in my head I wanted to be able to do with my partner, my companion, those types of things. I wanted to share that with someone. And that's not the path God had me on. And I had to be okay with that. Doing multiple things, like I worked 2 jobs, and I always have. Not because I have to, but I'm thinking, why sit around? I could be making some money.
Right.
That's just my mentality. I think that's that, that Leo personality trait that people say we have, that we always have to be busy and stay busy. And I think just having multiple things going on at once, it became, it's my superpower, And I don't know when it came upon me that I don't have to do all of that. I don't have to be all of that.
Right.
And who am I being this for?
Right.
Who am I impressing? And I'll be honest with you, that revelation probably was just made just a few years ago, and I mentioned I'm 55. And part of it is I was getting tired. I was getting weary of always having to rise to the occasion and always having to do things at this level, and not always feeling like I was getting in return what I was giving.
Yep.
And again, as a part of my journey, understanding that I'm good enough.
Right.
It's okay. You
are worthy.
I am worthy. I have all of the things that I could ever desire.
Right.
Never have wanted for much of anything because I have family and support systems in place where it was just given to me. But part of who I am is that I try to give that to others.
Right.
And right now my mission is to give that to some of my students that I work with, some young ladies who need to see people like me in their lives,
Right.
and give them the encouragement, which is something that drives me to continue to do it and do it well, so that I can
Right.
be a mentor and a role model for them. Yeah, so that's kind of my superwoman story. But now it's just Shawn.
Right.
That S stands for Shawn.
Period.
Shonni, yes. For those of you who know Shonni.
Right.
Not everybody gets to know Shonni. But
Yes.
yeah.
Wow. I love that you started to have the revelation. I say the shift.
Yes. Yep.
I see. The shift is happening, y'all.
Yes.
And I remember, many conversations we would be having, like, as you were, like, coming to start to see, like, okay, I got to start taking care of me. And not that you didn't in the past, but more intentional, more like,
Absolutely.
I can't be everything for everybody. And I think we both kind of had that in common, like trying to do all these things for everybody and not be, focused on ourselves. So kudos to you, because I'm seeing it in action, and I love to see that
Thank you.
for you.
Thank you.
And being able to, like, say no. And
Now that is a superpower. Saying no, being okay with it, and moving on and not feeling bad about it. I'm a helper just by nature,
Right.
a nurturer.
yeah,
But oftentimes my plate is full. And getting people not to be offended by it or
Right.
Taken aback by it. Because look at all of the times that I said yes.
right.
And so the one time that I say no, I need you to be good with that. I need you to be okay with it.
And it's tough because it really is a practice, right?
Absolutely.
And as you're practicing, everybody isn't going to be able to receive that, like, oh, she's acting funny, or,
Right.
she never said no. And all of a sudden she's saying, but they say no all the time.
All the time. All the time. And they
And you
just
be
don't
like-
recognize. Yeah, it's like, you say no and you make yourself unavailable all the time.
Right.
But because I've made myself available all the time, it's
Right.
kind of a reaction like, did you say no?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I said no.
I said no, period.
No.
Exclamation. Boundary setting 101. So being in that practice, I think, is so important, especially now, like, as we're making the transition to really, like, we're on the other side. I've been saying that a lot lately. Like, we're on the other side now. We're thinking about the future plans, retiring, what that's going to look like, So, yeah,
Yes.
boundaries are important.
Boundaries are very important. One thing, though, about boundaries, in my opinion, is that I think it's really good to share with people that you need to set boundaries, or that I am in the midst of setting some boundaries, so that people don't get weirded out by
Right.
your change of behavior.
Yeah.
And I'm a communicator. That's what I do. That's what I've studied. That's what I think works for me.
Right.
Sometimes when you set boundaries and you don't share with people what's happening, that transformation, everybody can't understand it.
Right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. So you have to be able to say that, let them respond, right? Still be standing your ground, but letting them know, like, this is what this is going to look like moving forward.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And also, too, in that same token, there are also some times where there is no explanation that's going to be required.
Right.
Right. Just because this is, a part of what is going to make me better, how I'm continuing to work on myself, my, nurturing myself, my, being my most authentic self. And I think, that for me, like the throat chakra and, like, speaking up. Right. Because I would just kind of like not say anything or just kind of go along, go with the flow. But I feel like when I did start to speak up, people was like, oh, well, she can't really,
Stings a little bit.
Yes.
And I think that statement, which is kind of a new little mantra, you know, be your true authentic self. People can't really handle that.
No.
Okay. Particularly in the corporate space.
Yes.
You don't really want me to be my true authentic self.
Right.
You know, it's like, because if that were the case,
Right.
that means you would accept me circa 1997 with my hair natural, with my, you know, some of the things that represents me as a African American woman.
Right. So let's get into that, because you are still corporate and you're an entrepreneur. So
yes, I am.
Let's touch into that corporate side of, so do you still feel like there's this, what's the word? Like this control over how you can be, right? Because do you feel like you can wear your braids, like you were saying, your natural hair, and not, do you feel like you get looks still, like even still now, you still?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
100%. Is it more accepting? Yes. I can tell you when I started, it was something that I was more mindful of versus something that I felt like I couldn't do. But it's the comments that you receive.
Right.
You know, oh, you're so fancy. Or how did they do that? How long does that take? You know, it's a hairstyle, you know.
Right.
And for me, it's just like,
yes,
it's a hairstyle.
Right.
You know. I could not be my true authentic self in that moment. Fast forward 28 years. It is a more comfortable space. I'm more familiar. They know me. They know my work. They know what I bring to the table.
Right.
So that is not the first thing that they look at. Do they prejudge who I am?
Right.
Of course.
Right.
Of course. I think that no judgment thing is difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult because I'm human.
Right.
And so I don't take that, you know, for it's a work in progress for
Right.
me. It's a work in progress. So I have to imagine that it's a work in progress for everyone else too. But being corporate, I've been called corporate. It's my space, right?
Oh, you kill it you kill the game I watched you climb the ladder. Like
it's
yeah.
It's what I do. It's what I like. Trying to pivot sometimes into my personal life. Oh, it creeps. It's that scope creep. Creeps into what I do just on a daily basis in my relationships and vice versa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I care how people feel.
Right.
When most times in corporate America, they don't care. They don't care. They want the job done. They want you to follow this process.
Right.
But I think one of the reasons why I am successful in kind of my leadership style and leading teams is because I care about my people and they know it.
Right.
Yeah, it's twofold.
Right.
It's one of those things that, yeah, some people sometimes can't handle in my personal life. It's like, you're so corporate.
So let's talk about it. Hey shifters, sorry to interrupt. I know you're enjoying this episode, but I wanted to say thank you, first of all, for watching Shift Chats. We love you guys. You're our shifters. And I wanted to ask you a favor. Can you subscribe? You know, the button, the red button down there. Subscribe, like, share, and also comment. We're looking for your comments. We want to know if we're doing a good job, if you like it, you want to see something different. And yeah, I'm ready to do that with you. Okay, going back to the show. See you guys later. When you say you feel like people can't handle, tell me what you mean. Like, give me an example.
Like,
because you feel like they're feeling like your corporate leans over into
like me not being myself when we're out or having a good time. I'm mindful of how I show up in places. And of course, you act different in your own comfortable space at home versus when you're out in public. And I tend to have a little bit more flexibility when I'm outside of those Milwaukee walls.
Okay.
And I don't know if I intentionally do it or just something in me just kind of shifts.
Right.
But I know people are watching, people are looking. I don't want the judgment, you know, but I like to have a good time.
Okay. And so do you feel like you care about what people think?
I do.
Okay.
I absolutely do.
Okay, you know I don't, right? Okay.
I absolutely care about how people see me. I do. Now, does it change me from doing what I need to do for Shawn? No, but I have to say that I care about what people think about me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in your work and in your space, I see that and I get it. And I think for me, just in my journey that I've been on, I'm to that point where, because of the battles that I've had to fight, like I'm just like, either you like me or you don't, and that's okay. You know. Yeah. So, okay, look, we haven't gotten to any questions, honey. We just been talking. Let me see. We're gonna do. I feel like we've kind of touched on a little bit of this. So, okay, here's one. What advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs who are just starting their journey? And tell us a little bit about your business that you have.
Have a plan. And the business that I am in is I am a prenatal care coordinator. And I help young ladies manifest the lives for themselves and their children in the way that it really should be, providing resources and tools and the ability for them to grow as a woman,
Right.
as well as providing what children really need to grow and to learn and to be sustainable.
Okay. And you feel like things are going how you thought as an entrepreneur, or any challenges you feel like you've experienced?
Well, we have had some challenges, I think, as any new business, you know, would have. I've been able to navigate through those through communication, bringing my corporate skills to the table.
Right.
Identifying some gaps in the process that weren't shared with us. And in my mind, I'm thinking, was that to make me fail? Or was that to make me elevate myself and bring what I know to the table to try to fill those gaps? And that's what I've done.
Right.
And it's been successful.
Yeah. Because they need you on their team.
Period. Period.
The clock is clocking. So I have I want to do, I don't even know how to do this. Should I do the final questions and then keep going, or should we keep going?
I think you should keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it. Because I do want to go touch on, we didn't get into some relationship stuff.
Okay.
Not friendships.
Okay.
Because, you know, you and I have had some serious discussions on these. When we see the relationship topics come up on the social media, we were like, girl, do you believe they said? I'm thinking about, how do we as women, and I think going to you're working with the younger women and babies.
Yes.
How do we make sure we're able to help them understand what they need to be doing for themselves prior to being in relationship?
That's a good question. And the reason is because everybody comes from a different journey. Everybody has a different background. Everybody has a different trauma.
Right.
Whether it's been addressed or not addressed. And part of the assessment that we do when we bring on the young ladies, first of all, everyone doesn't qualify.
Okay.
Okay. And even those that don't qualify, I tend to help them on the side. The ones that do qualify is just really understanding that journey.
Right.
And where they want to go. And so I challenge them, off the top. Baby is in belly. What do you foresee for yourself and your child? What do you want this to look like? And a lot of times the young girls don't have a plan.
Right.
Okay.
And a clue. Not even a plan, but they don't even have a clue.
Absolutely. And so that is the reason for my answer to your question earlier, is just have a plan. Even if it's not a full-fledged plan, have an idea of what you want it to look like. And you can grow into anything. So I'm there really to help them plant that seed. And then the resources that I can provide them is that growth.
Right.
And I have some young ladies who really listen, who really follow the plan that we've mapped out. And they're on their way to some success in their lives.
I love that.
And it just fills my heart to see, I want to graduate. I want a job where I can take care of my family. I want to be able to have my own apartment.
Right.
I want to be able to buy a car, but I need a driver's license first. So a lot of that in our assessment, we map those things out and we go step by step based on priority.
Yeah.
And we check the box. And I have a few young ladies who have checked the box.
Right.
And it's not that they don't need me anymore, but they're not as dependent on me. And so my client list shifts a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yep. So
based on their
based on their needs for me.
Right.
And then of course I have individuals who didn't really have a solid plan. I was kind of giving them the tools and the nuggets. And it's a little bit more difficult for them to follow the plan, but I think it's because of what they've been through. Unresolved traumas, not being able to get themselves to a point where they can stand up and say, this is truly what I want for myself and my child, and I'm going after it. And so, again, work in progress. It is part of the journey. It varies, but again, it's something that I've committed to do.
Okay.
And I will continue to help young people aspire to achieve the things that they want.
Yeah. I always see that, and I feel like you're like a master mentor. Like, you'd be like, with the babies, they got the, I got to help the babies, even though they're young adults. You be like, you consider them your babies. And I see that work in, what you do and how they're able to, kind of take the information and the resources and things that you provide and, get to the next level, which is always the ultimate goal for them to be able to get to the next level on what they're doing. And having a baby doesn't prevent that.
Absolutely not.
But like you're saying, to your point with traumas and their experiences, sometimes, without the right direction, they will continue to be lost and not, know what to do or how to do it because they don't have that guidance. So there's definitely a need for your services that you do. And then I feel like other services as well. So I wanted to touch a little bit about relationships.
Okay.
And, like I was saying, we see these, these little conversations that are being had with, men saying, talking about the masculine and, what they want from women and, all these different things. And, I always be like, I don't even want to get into that because I feel like it's such a sticky topic, but I want to just have a quick conversation about relationships, right? And good and bad, right? And I'll just start with, for me, like I felt like I had a light bulb go off about a year or so ago where I felt like I had been in this cycle, of the type of people that I was encountering. And I was like, I feel like it's me, right? And that's where I said earlier about like my voice and speaking up, because I would just kind of like go along and not really necessarily say like what I necessarily liked or didn't like, or maybe just because it was easy, or not asking the right questions. You know what I'm saying? And then I have also had some experiences where they were really good and the language was good, or, they were able to, articulate some things, but then you see later. So like for me, like, okay, I really had to make a list. Like, okay, red flags, orange flags, yellow flags, So talk a little bit about some of your experience. What do you feel like you've learned? What do you feel like moving forward you're looking for?
So the first thing is no list. Mm-hmm. And I've learned that along the way, because I used to have a list.
We talked about the list.
And just being open to who and what God has for me. Mm-hmm. Now, my personal walk with God and my personal prayer with God, He knows what my heart is desiring. I'll just say that. He knows.
I'm laughing because I know. Because you said no list, but it really still is like an invisible list. But go ahead.
Well, and here's the thing, is that I feel like everybody should want this, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody should want a man who can protect, who can be loyal.
Yeah.
And honesty and loyalty kind of
intertwine.
But I think personally for me, I need a driven person who can take care of us.
Right. Yeah.
I want a partner.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that, if something were to happen to me and I'm unable to carry this through,
right,
I know that they got me.
Right.
If something happens to him and we can't carry this through, I got us. So, yeah. And I guess when I say list, I mean that material list that at this point in life,
there are absolutely some attributes that one has to have.
Anything. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. I've just come to know that I need to be more open. Because I will always say, but. And I'm
always like, but girl.
Right. Exactly. My peace is important. Okay, let's be clear.
Oh yeah, we want to have peace. We want to have peace.
I have a relationship with peace, and no one.
Right.
I will allow no one to disturb my peace.
Right.
But relationships are, I don't want to call them work, but it is a task that I think both people need to put action towards.
And see, I call it work. I say it's like when I'm counseling my clients, I'm like, this is your part-time job. You know that, right?
Right.
You know that you're going to really have to
put in some time
and some work intentionally, really every day.
Yeah.
Just like you go to work every day, you really do have to be, and be willing to communicate.
That part.
Willing to be honest, like you said, loyalty. Because I feel like in relationship, so many marks are being missed by some of this kind of surface stuff that's being talked about. And we're not really getting to, these men need help just like the women do.
Absolutely.
These men need to address their inner child trauma just as we have, right?
Absolutely.
They need to work on themselves.
I have found that there are a lot of men who are walking the walk now, and for whatever reason, maybe something has happened in their lives. I have a friend that I used to say, let's go to therapy. Let's try to figure this out. And you get the, I don't need no therapy.
Right.
And fast forward, I got a therapist.
Oh, look at the Lord. Look at Jesus.
And I'm like, say what now?
How's that working for him?
I've seen a shift. Okay. I've seen a change. I think that there is work that needs to continue to be done along with that, but I think the effort, you get an A for effort.
Right.
In my book.
Right.
I just think that people need to embrace what they need in whatever format it comes in,
Right.
whether it's therapy, whether it's prayer, whatever it is, you know, being around people who can support you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not being around people who are going to co-sign your silliness and foolery.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? So being around people that are going to call you out and be like, man, you know, that's not right.
Absolutely.
Or, you know, but really committing to, these are some things that, because what I know to be true is that usually when you've heard something, or for example, we're talking about men, right? And, you know, a woman is saying, you are this or you do that. You've heard that more than one time. Right.
Absolutely.
So then it is your responsibility to kind of take that, not let the ego get in the way.
Yes.
Right. And sit down with yourself and say, you know what? Maybe. And it's not even about being right or wrong. It's about how do we want to be better?
Absolutely. Addressing the elephant in the room. Because if you've heard that more than once, more than twice,
Right.
it's you.
Yeah.
And it deserves, you know, some optics on it.
Yeah.
And same for women, right? And so it's like, okay, I've heard this a couple times
Yeah.
from a couple of different people
Yep.
who don't even know each other. Like, Shawn, you need to check
Yep.
yourself.
Yep.
And I don't mind doing that, but
Yeah.
that's part of the work, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely part of the work. And like I was saying earlier, that's what I've done. Like I've had to sit and be like, okay, and it's not necessarily like anything bad. It's just about, as you're growing and learning and maturing and like understanding how you find yourselves in situations. Okay, this is it, because I'm not speaking up for myself. I'm not saying what I want or what I desire, and you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
So now that I get to be in the practice of that, I can say, and I can know like when somebody is presenting something that I'm not okay with,
Absolutely.
because I'm worthy and I know that I don't have to. Okay, if that's how you feel,
Right.
I can just keep right on
That part.
moving.
That part.
I can keep right on moving. Okay, I have to ask you. I have these questions that I usually ask.
Okay.
First one: what's one piece of wisdom or mantra that you live by, that you can share with the shifters?
It's one piece or one mantra. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens
Yes,
me.
Lord.
That's
Amen.
it in a nutshell.
You don't have to say anything else after that. If you could host a dinner party with any 1 to 3 people, living or dead, who would they be, and one question you would ask?
You want me to name the 1 to 3 people? Ooh. This is tough. Only 1 to 3 people?
I mean,
Okay, so I would probably say
start with your list and we'll see where it goes.
Okay.
This is a dinner party, so they all could be there.
Okay.
Okay.
I probably would say my dad's mother,
Okay.
because I never got a chance to meet her.
Okay.
She passed when my dad was like 12 or 13 years
I'm
old.
sorry.
So, but I hear him talk about her.
And that would be your grandmother.
That would be my grandmother.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And he always says, you kind of look like my mom. And so the other day I said to him, I said, do you remember what her voice sounded like? And he was like, absolutely. You know, my dad is in his 80s. So that's a long time.
Right.
Right. So she would be one. I probably would have Coretta Scott King.
Okay.
And I would have Boris Kojo.
Okay. And what y'all talk about at the dinner? I actually met Boris Kojo 1 year in Vegas.
I met him also.
He partied with us. We had a time.
And so not that those 3 people have anything necessarily in common. But again, for the reasons my grandmother, just because I want to know who she
Right.
is and,
Yeah.
you know, what she was about. Coretta Scott King, because of her relationship with her husband, okay? Being a woman of color in the time in which
Right.
she led and was a partner to one of the world's most famous leaders. And Boris Kodjoe, just because he just seems so down to earth and
Yeah.
well-rounded.
Yeah. And him and his wife have been married a very long time as
I'm
well.
telling you, and I
Yeah.
think because of their journey, how they met, how much fun it looks like they
Yeah.
have together,
Right.
that's something that I,
Yeah.
you know, aspire to have and be.
Yeah. And you will.
Sorry, Nicole. But
We love you.
yeah, but it's just something about his personality that is like, now that is the kind of guy
Yeah.
that I would love to, you know,
Right.
be around.
And one thing, and not to cut you off, but I think about just in that point, like we have to make sure, and I feel like I used to say it, I feel like I've heard you say it, and it's not, you know, intentionally or whatever. And I've heard many people, women and men say, I want a me for me. What I realize is I don't. Right? Because you know how when you hear people say opposites attract, like we do need somebody. We don't want somebody that's
Just
us.
like, no, absolutely.
Yeah. But I feel like I know I used to say that and I've heard it before.
I want someone who can expose me to new and different things. A person who's not afraid to say, let's try this.
Yeah.
Let's do something different.
Right. Or okay, let's see, you know, we could try something once. Okay.
Absolutely.
It's not gonna kill you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, drive,
Right.
motivation. Always wanting to learn something
Right.
new and different.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, one last question.
Okay.
One piece of advice that you can share to the shifters who are on their journey of entrepreneurship, of healing, a tip, a trick.
I think what has worked for me is journaling, writing some things out. It kind of goes in line with that plan, which, again, my A-type personality is always to have a plan in place, which doesn't always work, but it's something to lean on.
Yes. Yes.
In the event of.
Yes.
And just always continue to learn more. Always figure out a better way
Right.
to do things. And you can learn from others. And I think just even in entrepreneurship, I had no idea what I was going to be up against.
Right.
And I think the organization that I partner with, they had no idea. It's evident that they had no idea
Right.
what this would be. But just really mapping out a plan for yourself. And again, referring to that plan often.
Right.
Because everything deserves tweaking. Some things may not work, you know, may not be suitable for,
Right.
you know, whatever activity is happening. But, and I think finally continue to pray about things. Continue to focus on that particular relationship, because
Right.
I'll tell you, that mantra, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me.
Listen, why I'm here today, honey.
That's just it. In a nutshell.
In a nutshell. Period. Thank you so much. Remember, the shift is happening now, because we could talk
All day.
all day long.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming to Shift Chats.